You spoke about the Constitution earlier when we were talking about why you became a Republican. That reminds me of let's do with milk. I didn't catch all the details, but you were in the newspaper for defending a guy against a federal group because he was selling unpasteurized milk. Is that it?
Yeah, the way this developed was it was around December 1st, 2011. Never heard of this farmer before. He lives in Elkhart County. He's actually an Amish farmer, so he's a peaceful man.
Yeah.
He's very devout in his religious beliefs, and he had entered a private contract with some natural food co-ops, which there's a number of them around, but in this case it was in Michigan and Illinois, which happened to be across state lines. And then as a result of all that, the federal government seems to think they should have their regulations involved in all that. And don't misread me, I'm very much for a safe food supply, and
yeah.
very much for, if I go to a restaurant, I don't want to get sick because I've eaten at a restaurant. So we're very concerned about food safety. On the other hand, the accusations against this farmer have been unfounded. There's been no evidence that there's been any serious illnesses as a result of the production of raw milk and distribution of raw milk. And had there been just slight differences, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it today. But what has happened is, in this particular case, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, along with the Department of Justice, has decided that they want to make an example out of this guy. And so they have essentially, what I view it as, harassed him with a number of FDA inspections on his farm. And all the inspections are good inspections. They have he runs a clean and stellar application production, and again, no evidence that anybody's getting sick from this type of thing. If there was certainly evidence that hundreds of people are getting sick from his product, I'd let him, let's do what we can to change this.
Yeah.
But what's happened is they come in and they're trying to harass him with these continued inspections. And again, nothing is being found. So essentially, I stepped in and I said to the federal government that this is a citizen in my county, and I believe in the United States Constitution, and one of that is the Fourth Amendment that says that we should be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Well, I viewed it as unreasonable, and so I put my foot down and I said, the federal government is not allowed on this person's property anymore without a warrant based on probable cause signed by a judge, and if we have that, they're welcome to come on, and the Amishman himself would agree that if they have a warrant, then that's the due process that's in place in our Constitution. And of course the federal government didn't like that, and they intimated that they would arrest me and incarcerate me for up to 3 years. And I'm not easily intimidated by that kind of
3 years isn't too long.
Stuff. Yeah, well,
compared to other things I've seen
in
Indiana. Yeah.
But this farmer had been subpoenaed for a grand jury up in Michigan. And a grand jury, of course, the goal of a grand jury is to bring criminal charges against potential people, and he might be one of them. And he was also subpoenaed to bring his documents for production and so on. Well, I corresponded with the Department of Justice on Friday, and that following Tuesday, they withdrew that subpoena. And I think it's a bit presumptuous to think that my actions were the cause of that subpoena being withdrawn, but many people think that's always a potential possibility there.
That's interesting.
And so to this date, we haven't had any more inspections onto the farm, and he continues to produce and distribute is raw milk. I believe personally that people ought to have the right to choose to drink raw milk if they want to, meaning it's unpasteurized, it's not homogenized.
In France, most of the good cheese is from non-pasteurized
Yeah.
milk. That's possibly why I'm so interested with this case.
Exactly, and so, you know, in the natural food industry, if you check on the internet, I'm some type of folk hero for doing this. I don't really consider myself that. I just consider myself that as a sheriff, I take an oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution and the Indiana Constitution, so help me God. And so that's really what I was doing. I'm not suggesting the federal government is my enemy. I'm a peaceful man. I'm not looking for a war with the federal government. But the federal government has its place.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that through their zealousness, it gets out of control. And that's the beautiful checks and balances of our Constitution and our local and federal governments, is that we keep each other in check in those ways. And you know, we'll see what happens.
So that's not over yet, is it?
Well, you know, you never know what possibilities could come up in the future. I'm not anticipating anything huge, or I'm not anticipating them coming to arrest me for that or anything, because I've never, there's no law been broken. There's never been any inspections been denied or anything like that, so it's not like there's technically been a law broken. But nevertheless, what we've gotten in America is we've oftentimes got federal regulations that have become vexations instead of constitutionally sound law. And so, you know, when the police come to your house, we have to obey by the Fourth Amendment, which is unreasonable searches and seizures. We just can't come into your house without you know, proper reasoning and without maybe a warrant in certain cases. It's not needed in every case, but there are some exceptions. For example, if we come to your house and we hear a woman screaming inside the house, you know, we don't necessarily need a warrant to come in and see what's the problem, you know, but
that would be ridiculous.
So there are exceptions to the warrant requirement, but I don't view a milk inspection as one of those exceptions. So you know, we've just we've created a bureaucracy and a regulatory nightmare that can cause us many difficulties. So as sheriff, I'm not out to destroy all those regulations, but I want to keep them in check, at least when my citizens are being trampled upon.